Making friends in retirement can feel as tough as starting all over again, meeting friends for the first time, but the rewards are life changing.
Retirement often leaves people without the daily social connections that they certainly had at work. And this new reality can make it tough to form new friendships and find new communities.
And you really need to know that chronic loneliness is described as feeling lonely for 2 weeks or more. That is as bad for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So taking steps to make new friends so that you're not lonely is really critical and important, and it will change your life.
Absolutely. A lot of people say to us, I'm not sure if I need new friends. I think I'm doing just fine. We hear that a lot.
We do. We hear that. I think we hear that more from men, and we'll get into it later. But I think men have a harder time than women making new friends. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree that women are kind of community based just in nature, right? So, we're typically, not always, but typically the ones at, church or faith based functions, running the various different, tables or drives, the same at schools, the same, we kind of put ourselves out there a little bit more.
You do. But
for the most part.
But people who say, I'm okay, I don't need new friends, and if your life is filled with the friends that you have, that's awesome. Good for you. A lot of people also say, it's too late to make deep friendships at this stage of my life. And I totally disagree with that.
I do too. I mean, some of my closest friends today are friends I've had for a lifetime, but also are friends that I've made, over the past couple of years, for sure. So I think it just depends on how you want to put yourself out there, how vulnerable you want to be, how relatable you can be, and, what type of communities you join.
Yeah, and I'm very specific about the type of new friends that I want, and we'll talk about that in the video. But, as other people say, bam, I have a great family, and that's all I need. Why look for more? And I think that partly because having friends outside your family can give you wisdom. It can give you a safe place to talk about things. It can give you, some people with the same mindset and the same hobbies that maybe some people in your family don't have.
Well, and we could certainly say that. I mean, with 6 kids and significant others and grandkids, and I mean, we can stay really busy and consumed with family.
Right.
However, it's also good to model, good friendships, new experiences to your family.
Yeah.
That you are putting yourself out there.
Yeah. If you're new here, I'm Mark, and this is my wife, Jody.
And we don't focus on the financial aspects of retirement, but rather lifestyle, health, relationships, and more.
So hit the subscribe button. But more importantly, if you enjoy this video and others, please share it with someone that's going through the same journey that you're on so that we can spread the word about what we do. Now, before we jump in, just want to remind you to stay to the end because we're going to give you 20 reasons why it's hard to make friends. And at the end, we're going to give you 5 steps where you can actually start a campaign to create new friends today. When we first entered retirement, we actually started moving around a little bit. So we found that we needed to make new friends because we ended up in new communities. I think I don't want to say the word struggled in Connecticut, but we found it harder to make friends in Connecticut because we were moving into a community that was a set community, right? It's not a vacation community. These are people that have lived here for many of them for generations.
Well, we also, and you might find this in your world, right? We moved to our vacation home in Connecticut. So the community was used to seeing us on weekends or for weeks or coming up on the boat or different things. So, we weren't like mainstream Essex, Connecticut people. So then we transitioned to that. And I think our expectations kind of outran the amount of effort we were putting into relationships.
I think for me, the point of me bringing this up was that we moved around.
Yeah.
Now, if you live in a community that you've been in for 30 or 40 years and you retire and you stay there, probably a lot easier. We struggled with the fact that we moved around, and then we bought a vacation home in Florida, and that was a lot easier to make friends because we were in a community where many of the folks had retired, traditional retirement, and they moved down there and they want to make friends.
Right.
Everyone's looking to make friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to figure out where you are in your life and and adjust accordingly. You can't get frustrated if you move to a new town and you find it hard to make new friends. Today, we want to share with you some of the things you can do to do that. As a matter of fact, there's a download we put in the link below, our relationship toolkit, that you can actually use to go through some of your relationships and learn how to deepen them and make them more exciting,
Positive,
long
term.
Okay, 20 reasons. So what's the first one we want to talk about?
So the first thing we have to do as we jump into the main teaching points is think about the loss of workplace community. Retirement takes away that daily social interaction that you'd had for all the years that you were working. So you no longer see those colleagues every day. And the work provides that shared experience that creates bond. A lot of times I call those situational relationships or situational friendships because it's a built-in group that you see every day and it's based around a work product.
And I think
and you lose that.
You do.
Sorry.
No,
to interrupt you.
No, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that because I just thought of this as we're doing this, is we talk a lot about losing the relationships at work. The thing is, while you're at work and you have these built-in groups of people that you work with, those are relationships. Now, you may never go to dinner with them. They might not be your best friends, but you're interacting with humans. The problem is when you step away from the workplace, that daily interaction with dozens, hundreds of people each day stops. And all of a sudden you find yourself by yourself or just with your wife or husband. All of a sudden you're like, it's not like it used to be. So this whole loss of workplace community comes at you in a lot of different ways.
And I think the thing that we're offering is recognize that, those friendships that were formed through shared work, shared stress, shared projects, shared events, shared dinners, shared clients, all start to fade because that common ground goes away. So I think the first point is just to recognize that.
Yeah, because it does end. I mean, when you stop going into the office, you stop seeing those people unless you make an effort to call them up or go see them or whatever. But the daily, the word isn't grind, the daily connectivity to dozens of other human beings will stop. And that's hard to handle sometimes. So what's something that prevents us as humans to go out and try to make new friends? And one of the issues is fear of rejection. Just saying hello to someone, putting yourself out there to meet new people. Fear that you're going to be judged by potential new friends. They'll start asking you questions. What do you used to do? And why do you do that? And, it's a process that you need to go through. But this fear of rejection is real. And you need to find a way through it.
Well, I think it's, important to note, rejection feels harder as we age, increasing our hesitation to make new friends and put yourself out there. Sometimes it's tough to initiate contact without the fear of being ignored or turned down or the response not reciprocating. So the thing I guess I would say on this fear base is the longer you wait, the scarier the idea comes because you become a bit insular, right?
I have this, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm an early morning person and I walk down the street wherever I am, even on a trip. I like to watch the sun come up. And I'm big on saying good morning to whoever shows up. And here in Connecticut, I've made a dozen friends. I call them my sunrise friends or my Essex dock friends because I've said hello and I've started conversations and I started asking questions. And I have in my phone, I have their phone numbers. And these are my morning people that's something we have in common. And we have a good relationship but the point is, at first I was hesitant to say hello to people. Like some people don't like that. And you can tell when you say hello to someone, good morning. And then they walk away. That's fine. You can't feel rejected. Right. They're just there for another reason and they want to be quiet.
Right.
But like you said, the longer you wait to try this, the harder it becomes.
Yeah. And I think that leads to the third point that, people are set in their ways. As we age, routines and habits become a little entrenched and a little harder to change. And retirees have established routines that they're comfortable with. So if you don't prioritize time for new friendships, you do get into a routine where those friendships don't, they don't appear.
Well, it's very easy to go through your day and not make any effort to reach out to other people and just feel like, you're enough for me. Our kids are on top of that. And I'm fine. I don't need any more friends. But you're not always around. You're not always available. And you shouldn't always be available
Right.
for me. We're going to get into that in a minute. But really, if other people are set in their ways, you've got to find places where they show up, where you have something in common. Again, this is all going to take some effort. Now, if you're going to go out and try to integrate yourself into other people's lives, like I do in the morning at the sunrise, some people might have a routine that doesn't include, I want to meet somebody.
Right.
And I just have to
And
respect
that's okay.
that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing is that we want to talk about is it can be difficult finding people with common interests. Now, and again, I'm talking about me because I know me better than anybody, don't I?
I think so.
No. Sunrise people I've met at the gym. I've made really great friends at the gym. The common interest is these are people that want to work on their health, live longer, live healthier, and all different age groups. I mean, we have people at the gym that are 27 years old and 82 years old.
Well, I guess I would challenge you and this thought process a little bit because you want to make sure that you are, saying hello to the people at the dock, having your people at the gym. Mm-hmm. But then it's also nice to take it a step further. So it's not just situational. Those are the only people I see them at the dock. And I never say, let's go have breakfast or let's have coffee or do you want to go for a walk or, different things like that. Because, you may find people that share your passion and then they may share more passions, but you have to give people the runway to get them out of that situation.
So when you say challenge me, what I'm hearing or feeling is you have to take these new relationships to another level.
Yeah.
By asking
I
questions,
think so.
Getting to know. So my friend Matt, who
Right.
I've met down at the water, he walks a loop every morning twice. And a couple times I said, hey, I'm leaving now. I'll walk back up the street with you. And then last week we had breakfast, to your point.
Right.
But that's on me to say, hey, you ever want to get a cup of coffee? And we sat and had coffee and breakfast and we learned a lot more about each other. So there's got to be a little bit of a plan. There has to be some intention.
Right.
But it begins with meeting people with common interests. Put yourself at the library,
right.
at church, at the gym, at the dock, at the bar if you're a bar person. But that,
at the golf course, at the pickleball, at yoga studios. I mean, there's a lot of places. I guess what I'm saying is learn from that community that you may have lost, that situational work community,
right.
And don't create more situational communities that you may lose.
Yeah. Yes.
If you stop getting up early and going to the dock, are you ever going to see those folks again? Well, maybe Matt, because you've
right.
created more of a relationship.
Right.
So
that's a good point.
That's my only challenge
I
on
get that. Yeah.
So the fifth thing is all of us, our social skills get a little rusty. Without regular interaction, social skills can feel a little out of practice. And I know that happens to a lot of our clients. And they'll say, I took a year off, I stayed home, I worked on my health and wellness or my family relationships. And now small talk feels a little awkward or it feels very unstructured and I don't know where to go with my conversation. And I guess people worry about saying the wrong thing or coming off a little too strong. And lack of practice just makes them feel worse about it.
Well, I think the other thing is when you're in your career and you've been in there for 30 years, you've got, even when new people come in, new employees, new team members, you've got a path to talk about stuff, about this clients, the process at work, the training, whatever it might be. When you meet people out in the world, either at the gym or volunteering or at church or whatever, you have one thing in common, but you don't know anything else about that person. So it takes these social skills to fine tune them, to ask questions in the right way, where you're not intrusive, but you also have the courage to say, to ask some questions.
Yeah, I would wrap this whole category up with, be interesting as well as interested. And think about that as you're involved in small talk, am I showing the right amount of interest? Am I interesting? Can I bring up books that I've read or articles or things that I've researched or experiences I've had? And what questions can I ask of the other person? because I think that's where small talk, that awkwardness around small talk kind of goes away.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about this. I think after this video is finished, I think we'll do another one in a month about, the 20 steps on, the questions you can ask, the process, because it is a bit scary. I mean, I'm thinking now of the questions I think of as I meet new people, and I think I'm pretty good at it. And I think you're good at it, is this whole idea of being interested in someone. But if you ask them 6 questions and you
Rapid fire.
well, not in a row, but you're going to know whether or not the person wants to open up, whether they're
Right.
interested in going further. But again, that fear of rejection, sometimes some people won't even do that because they don't want to be rejected. But again, don't forget to stay to the end. We're going to give you the 5 steps that you can do right now to start making new friends. I think that particularly for us, our family time, our family commitments take a priority. And depending upon your life, now, if you've got 3 kids that live on the same block that you do, and they all have grandchildren, you're going to be spending most of your time with your kids and your grandkids. That's not a bad thing. But it doesn't leave a lot of time for you to meet other people your age. Would you say that's accurate?
Well, I don't know.
Naturally.
I don't know if that's accurate because none of our kids live anywhere near
No, but
us,
if they did,
and our
could you-
grandkids live on the other side of the country.
Well, but if it's, look at how much time we spend with our kids now, and they're all over the country.
I know.
If they were down the street and our grandkids were there, they'd always be running up. And listen, if you have that,
I know. I
good
feel like
for
that would be
you.
a really happy time for me.
But yes, but I also think that we need friends our age, right,
Right.
with our interests. So if you're in that situation, you've got to find a way to carve out some time.
Yeah.
Movie night with another couple, right? Would
Yeah.
you-
No, I agree. I mean, you're definitely a better social animal that way, putting people on the calendar for dinners or movies, or I would say shows, but you fall asleep at all the shows. But I do think there's a balance between family and personal and social needs. And I think it's important with your spouse or partner or significant other to have that balance and that discussion around the balance. Because I know sometimes you'll want to block the calendar, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, let's go out to dinner with the following people. And I'm kind of like, that's a lot.
Yeah, I don't think I do it that much. Once a week. Why the face?
Uh,
Why the face?
Anyway,
So yeah, I think it's important because I think it's important to have friends and a social network of people your own age with your own interests and your own, you're reading the same books, whatever it might be. It's not just your kids and your grandkids. I think that it's important to have that.
one of the things I think comes up with retirees, and certainly, a lot of our subscribers and clients, is health and mobility issues. Physical limitations can prevent many retirees from joining activities where they could meet new friends.
Mhm.
And that's really hard. Mobility issues make attending social events difficult.
You can speak to that in practical terms.
I can. When we got back from Africa after traveling 30 hours on a plane, I thought it was a good idea to run up and down the steps and, get everything organized in a hot minute. And I actually missed a step coming down and fell.
Mhm.
And it's been 2 weeks yesterday, and I'm just now starting to get back to mobility.
It's the first
Um,
time you've been able to sit in this chair in
yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had to stand here and stand because
And
Jody
stand
couldn't
at all the
sit.
meetings
So
and stuff. But
So it actually has given us a huge insight into people where there's a couple where one person might be in a wheelchair and the spouse is not, and it's difficult, and we understand that. It was a lot for Jody to force herself to not move around. And it was a lot for me to be the best husband I could be, the best caregiver I could be without getting frustrated and concerned and worried about what I was going to do.
right.
So it's given us a whole new window into this world of health or mobility issues that we all may or may not face at one point in
Yeah,
our lives, and we
absolutely.
know that's a problem.
And health concerns definitely cause anxiety about meeting new people. I mean, we totally get that. I have a girlfriend up the street's been trying to have lunch with me since we got back from Africa to talk about Africa. And I quite frankly haven't been able to drive. So, because I fell on the right side and it's just the whole thing. So, I get that it's hard and you struggle to find peers and relationships in that way. I guess what I would say is, don't give up, try your hardest, put yourself out there, get the support you need, because isolation is worse than that awkwardness to find peers, I think.
Yeah. The other thing that makes it hard to find new friends is this idea of emotional guardedness, I'll call it, guarding your emotions. Some past experiences, maybe you got hurt by friends or you lost friends, and it's hard to trust new people to bring in a really close way. And it really bodes to the fact that in my book, the chapter on vulnerability, in order to really deepen relationships and keep them more than just really light up here, like, hey, how you doing? Did you watch the Giants this weekend? Yeah, I did.
The
They
Giants.
lost. Yeah, well, I don't watch anything, but my son watches the Giants.
Eagles fan.
Eagles then. Eagles.
Go ahead. Put all your comments below.
It's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to go deep with people. So we tend to guard ourselves and we put this, I call it this armor on, where, well, we'll meet someone, we'll have dinner with them, but we're not going to tell them anything about our kids. We're not going to tell them anything about what we struggle with as humans. We're not going to tell them anything about the struggles we might have as a couple. And when you don't do that and you guard all of that, you can't go deep with people.
Right.
You can't deepen relationships. It just becomes another couple to go out to have a meal with.
Right. Which is fine too.
It is.
I mean, not every relationship has to be, deep with all your deep, dark secrets and the vault opened and all of those things.
No.
But I think in order to trust people and trust yourself, you have to let go of some of that emotional baggage that feels so risky to let go of, because otherwise it is going to be more difficult to form relationships.
I feel like our best friends are those couples that lead with not their problems. They lead with honesty and they tell the truth. These folks that say, we have 6 kids and they're all perfect. Well, they are all perfect, but they're not.
Right.
They're
humans.
They're humans, and we're perfectly imperfect. So leading with, nothing's wrong in my life, everything's fine, our marriage is perfect, our kids are great, our house is wonderful, blah blah blah. That's not true for everybody, right? So if you can lead with that, but then to be honest and say, I struggle like you do with this with my kids. What about you? And all of a sudden now you're sharing something in common that you can talk about.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I agree.
Okay.
The next point is some people that we've met have lack of confidence in social settings. After years of workplace routine, many retirees lack the confidence to just put themselves out there and meet new friends in different social settings. They feel less sure about how to approach strangers. What am I going to talk about? I mean, when you had a business card with your title on it, a lot of people would lead with that. And you don't have that anymore. The confidence in initiating conversations has waned a little bit and social anxiety takes over. And I think that many people worry that they just won't fit into social groups. And by the way, you're not going to fit into all social groups. Yeah. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I think when you walk in, we struggled with this with some social clubs that we belong to, where you walk in and the two of us walk in, we're going to have dinner. And there are these cliques of people in the room. And it's so hard to walk up to 4 people standing around with a drink, having a conversation and say, hi, how are you? We feel like we're intruding. We feel like if they wanted to have other people come in, they would look at us and come over to us. So you get all of this mind crap in your head and you lack confidence on what the right thing to do is. And it's really just having that courage to walk up to people. They're not going to run. I mean, it is a social setting.
Right.
So it's meant to be social. Like you said, for me with my business card, I met everybody because everybody in my mind, I was an insurance broker. Everybody was a prospect. Yeah. So I would meet everybody until they tried to sell me something and I'd scoot the other way. But yeah, I think lack of confidence in social settings.
Something to be mindful of. For sure.
It makes it difficult. And the next thing really around the same vein is navigating these social circles. You do meet one couple and they're like, how do you meet the next? Well, really, even unsure how to find social groups with a structure that would work for us to meet new people. I think volunteering is the best way. It's not a social circle. You're actually doing good. But if you can volunteer, you're now standing side by side with people that are trying to help other people. I think that's a good way.
I think you also have to be careful in your mind not to define social circles. Like
Okay.
we have a friend who is a wonderful Italian cook. I mean, like wonderful. Everything is made from scratch. She'd rather eat at home than any restaurant you could ever take her to. And whenever we go to her home for dinner, we think we're just going for dinner, the two of us. And she pulls together people from all different walks of life that we may have met, we may not have met, we may have run into, we may be in the same industry, we may be from different continents, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
But Debbie pulls everyone together and it's always the best meal.
it is.
But she didn't say, well, the Rollinses don't know the Masons, so I'm not going to invite the Masons. She says, hey, they don't know each other. I like them both. Let's invite them. And I think sometimes we spend a lot of time saying, do these people go with that? Those people do that. I mean, maybe we just
Well,
worry too much about it.
You know what? I think you're right.
Because Debbie doesn't worry at all. And she
Debbie-
has the best dinner parties.
Debbie and John don't worry about it at all. They're an open, happy Italian family that everything happens around a meal. And she doesn't call us ahead of time and say, I want to let you know who's coming. You need to
Right.
think about this. You don't want to say that.
Nothing.
Don't say this to them. They're struggling with this. He doesn't drink, so don't offer him wine. There's none of that crap.
Nope.
It's just you show up, and she makes it so, I'm getting so excited thinking about this.
So
And she makes it so easy.
because I think
She drops down all the barriers.
she just drops down.
There's no barriers.
You know, the whole point on this was difficulty navigating social circles. Maybe it's just take the boundary off the social circle and, just put people together.
Yeah, don't think too much
Right.
about it. I talked earlier about vulnerability, and I don't know whether we agree on what it means, but why don't you talk about it?
Making new friends requires opening up, which can feel difficult later in life. Vulnerability can feel even a little riskier as you age. People don't always want to expose their personal struggles or feeling. And Mark and I go round and round on vulnerability because I believe from my corporate career that in order to be vulnerable, you had to have station, right? You had to be in a position of authority, power, dominance, the status quo. And, in my business, it was, the 50-plus-year-old straight white guys had all the power, right? Because I was in financial services. And so when people talk about, oh, we want you to be vulnerable, which I never had the opportunity to show,
Right.
because nobody really wanted to hear about it. But at this stage of life, vulnerability really takes on for me a different look. So it's not about being vulnerable in a workplace. It's about being vulnerable as a human. What do I struggle with and how do I share that? And where do I look for help and how do I ask for help? Sharing past experience requires trust, and that's going to take some time for me.
And
I don't immediately trust.
No, I lead with vulnerability. I believe it's a superpower, and I believe, particularly for
But
men,
you were able to cultivate that in your career as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Fine, if that's what you think. I work on it every day now. It's hard to be vulnerable. Listen, it's hard to be a human. Is it harder to be a man or a woman? I have no idea. It's hard to be a human. It's harder to be me than it is you to be you, I think. You're good at being you. But vulnerability is a superpower. And if you can find a way to open up and share and trust the other person, you have to have trust. So they have to show you that, that you can trust them. It deepens that relationship to a point that's almost unbreakable. And I think that that's what we need to do. Men in particular struggle with this. And that's a big part of my book, the chapter on vulnerability, really getting men to be able to open up. And a couple things. Number one, tell their partner what they need without fear of rejection. Share with what they're struggling with. And many times I'll share with you what I'm struggling with, and I'm not looking for a fix. I just want you to hear what I'm struggling with so that you're thinking about me too. And that's what friends want, right? Don't you want your best friends to reach out to you when you're struggling to let you know that they care?
We're just going to agree to disagree on
On what?
vulnerability.
I don't know what we're disagreeing on.
Okay, the next thing is
We can't agree to disagree.
We're
That's a
agreeing to
foul.
disagree.
That's what you're doing.
A lot of people have preconceived notions about age. When you say, like, many retirees believe we're just too old to make new friends, and they limit their own social engagement. And age-related stereotypes discourage people from really getting themselves out there and trying. The belief that friendship building is a younger people's game is really misleading.
Well, we have younger people in our life, so we have our kids. They're ranging age from 26 to 40 almost, and then grandkids. And they have a great social life. And if you think back on our social lives separately, but when you lived in Dallas or Houston, you had that dinner party thing every Friday night. You lived on a cul-de-sac and you always went to someone's house for dinner. We don't do that at our age. But that doesn't mean we can't.
Right.
But we also, what I've found is important to me is to have friends of all types of different age. I don't want just 67-year-old friends.
Right. Multi-generational friends.
That's why I love the gym. I love the dock. I love places where different age people show up so that I can have friends. I don't want to just be hanging out with 67-year-old people.
Right. No, I agree. I agree that multi-generational, multicultural, we now have friends that live in Belgium and, different parts of the world. And I think that just grows your ability to meet and connect with people of all levels. And I would recommend everybody have a multi-generational friendship.
It helps. Do you raise your hand? Do you have to go somewhere?
Nope.
Okay.
Good.
It helps with the conversation.
Yeah.
I think that you get different perspectives. I ask my kids, all of them, all the time, their perspective on politics. I don't want to get into a political discussion. I want their perspective, though. And I want to know where they're getting their information from. Where do you get your news? We're traditional newspaper on TV, but it's so interesting how much you can learn from these younger generations.
Well, we even ask the kids on some topics for the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We asked one of our sons about this idea of, we did a show on sleeping in separate rooms, which, we don't do because of the stigma, although we probably would both sleep better. And he came out with, he's got 4 or 5 couples that do it all the time at his age in their mid-30s.
Yeah. They have kids.
The
parents sleep in different rooms and they get together for their date night or shenanigans, whatever they do. But they sleep in separate rooms.
So my point was, though, we ask perspective to gain knowledge and connectivity. So.
Yeah. Sleeping in separate rooms isn't just for older people. Younger people do it too, so they get a good night's sleep.
And it has less stigma for the younger people than it does for people of our age. So the next one, there's some discomfort in social settings for people as they age. New social environments like community groups or events can sometimes feel overwhelming. New social settings can also feel intimidating and unfamiliar, and people worry about being the new person in a tight-knit group. I don't know if any of you have ever joined a book club that has been established and they're in their 10th year of book clubness. But I've joined a few book clubs where I was the new person, and also joined a Bible study where I was a new person and very new in reading the Bible.
Right.
And it took a little while for me to voice my opinion or contradict, maybe what one of the main group members was talking about, or, even just say, hey, I don't understand. But once you do that, you get more familiar with the other personalities, and it kind of opens the door for the energy to change in the group, which by accepting a new person in, they were looking for anyway.
So I have a mindset where I want to meet new people. At the same time, I'm an introvert.
I don't think you are.
Okay, I am. And here's okay. We can agree to disagree.
We'll have to do one of those tests.
I'm not doing a test.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I'm an introvert. So what happens when I enter a social setting? When I was back in my career up until 10 years ago, I bit my nails down in the cuticles, remember?
I do.
Because I was so nervous. And the nervousness came from me going to the big event with 500 people in the ballroom, all business people, all trading business cards, all trying to do that. I used to wait outside the door and count to 10 and say, all right, I got to go. And the energy that it takes for me to be in that type of atmosphere is really hard. I get so tired by the end of that night, I'm beat. So I can do it, but I don't get energy from it. It drains me. Can you agree that that's me? No?
Yeah, I've seen.
Look.
I've seen that. I guess because when you're in it, you're whether
Yeah.
you're play acting or whatever you're doing it at the highest level. So I guess if one were to watch you, they would not consider you an introvert.
They wouldn't.
But I guess
Absolutely
it's
not.
post event where you crash that's where it all kind of.
And pre-event getting wired up for
Yeah.
it. I mean, when we're going out to dinner with 3 new couples because those 3 couples are friends and they've invited us in, that's a lot for me. I mean, I can do it and I like it, but the whole topic here is discomfort in new social settings. I'm very uncomfortable in that setting, but I slog through it because that's what I want to do. Makes you happy.
Yes.
When you do retire, what happens is it does also change your relationships with other people. So if you've got, we have friends that still work, or we have friends that retired 10 years ago. Those relationships have changed because they're traveling the world and we might not be. So these long-standing relationships and friendships will change as routines change and shift in retirement. Like us, we're going from Connecticut down to Florida full time. So
Right.
our relationships up here, they start to wane a little bit because we're only here 4 months a year
Right.
versus 12 months. So as things like that shift, you lose friends.
You do.
Or the friendships aren't as tight as they used to be. So now you have to, again, make new ones so that you always have a new inventory of friends that you can hang out with.
Well, you also can, go back, and we have that worksheet on the people that and the friendships
Yes.
that are meaningful, and the experiences that they've provided, and the one word that comes to mind when you think of that person. You also have to make sure you're reconnecting, back. I mean, we're not leaving Connecticut and leaving all of our
No.
relationships, for sure not.
No, but they change. The point is,
Yeah.
as you, that makes life difficult. That makes retirement difficult because as you retire and your lifestyles change or your friends' lifestyle change, these friendships start to change. The whole point of this video is to give our viewers and ourselves the tools and understanding of what happens in retirement so that you don't just all of a sudden find yourself sitting at home going, I don't have any friends.
Right.
And if you don't work on any of this, you're going to end up being at home watching TV all day long, not having any friends. Right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think that you have to understand retirement will change your friendships.
One of the things that I wanted to throw into this list of 20, and we're already up to 15, so stay with us, is a concept of time management in retirement. Retirement's open schedule may make social planning even harder because the structure is no longer provided by your work, your calendar, your to-dos, your kids' soccer games, whatever, drop-offs at college, all the things that you had to do. You could always build in time for social interaction. Like you would schedule it. Now you look at your calendar, and the lack of discipline, may make it harder to create new social habits because you just don't have a lot of structure on your calendar. So I think time management in retirement helps you structure in different social planning events.
Sure. So a couple things that help with that. My morning routine helps me stay connected to the folks in my gym and at Sunrise because we're always there in the same class. So we get to say hello. So 5 days a week, I say hello to the same people. Most people show up to the same class at 5 o'clock in the morning and we're all there. So, but if I skip it for 3 weeks, I'm kind of out of the loop. So having a routine helps with that. But also you can run into trouble in your retirement by either over planning or under planning. You made a joke, I'm going to call it a joke, that I like to have dinners Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. I don't, but I do want to plan meals with other couples that are our friends.
Right.
So that we're out to dinner or have them come over our house for dinner or go to their house for dinner or even just go out for coffee or play pickleball or golf, whatever it might be. So you can overplan that and you can certainly underplan it. So
Well,
this time management thing is important.
I think it also begs the question, where does spontaneity come in retirement when you're, it almost becomes more difficult because you don't have regular commitments that you can say, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's go do this, something spontaneous, which is always kind of energizing
Yeah.
and exciting. Or, you run into somebody and you're both just getting to the grocery store. And this happened to me the other day. And I ran into a girlfriend and she said, why are we going to the grocery store? You want to just go out to dinner? And I like hesitated, and I was like, I really can't. And then I'm like, well, why can't I?
Yeah.
Like I realized I was like, squashing my spontaneity button for no reason. So I think that's also something to think about.
It all takes intention. It takes intention.
Right.
Don't forget, stay to the end. We're going to give you the 5 steps that you can implement right now to create a new friends network. Here's something that I think is really important for all of us is being over dependent on your spouse or your significant other or your partner or your wife or your husband, whatever label you want to use. We find ourselves sometimes alone here at our house because the kids aren't here. And we can go 4 or 5 days really without any other social interaction with anyone else. And we're becoming codependent. And I think that can be unhealthy. I think, and we're pretty good at, I do my stuff, you do your stuff, we do our stuff. But we'll go 4 or 5 days in a row where you haven't been able to play golf the last 2 weeks. So you've missed out on that whole social part of your life. So you're here.
I love my lady golfers.
You do, but so on Wednesdays when I was alone, I could do my thing and you did your thing. We're together again. That's a whole day that it was kind of our separate day.
Right.
So I think it's really important not to end up being over dependent. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
No, I agree. I think it's easy to become over dependent, and depending on where you live. I mean, if you live on a mountaintop or in a small village or out on a farm or in a city where there's people everywhere, it's either easier or harder, but you can really find yourself dependent on your partner. And what you don't want to have happen is that dependence turn to like resentment.
Right.
Like you're all I have. Like I need other friends. You don't want that to happen. So relationships with friends can provide a different emotional support, I guess, than your spouse can always provide.
And it takes vulnerability to make new friends, right?
Here he goes again.
What do you mean? It does.
Okay. The next topic is there are changes that happen in life goals and priorities when you retire. I think we could all agree with that. Retirees often have shifting priorities, making it harder to align with potential new friends. Different retirement goals may not align with old friends. For example, if all of a sudden you have time and health and wellness is your number one thing to work on, but your friends were all in a Wednesday women's wine group and you don't want to do that anymore, that shift in priority could, make you lose a group. And you need to find people focusing on the things you're focusing on to find your new groups.
Well, for instance, your new love for golf has surpassed my love for golf. Like I used to be the golfer in the family. I golfed all the time, three times a week. Now I'm like, but that's your thing. So now I'm trying to keep up with you, but that's a change. That's a change for us. And frankly, if my 3 sons didn't play golf and you didn't, I wouldn't play golf anymore. So I hang on to that because they like to play golf with me and you like to play golf. And I like it, but not like I used to. But if our goals in life change, then, it's the friends that you used to have.
Right.
Like I don't drink anymore. Hardly. So the last place I want to be is in a bar. And I have friends that we spent a lot of time in bars and that was fun when I was drinking. It's not fun now. So those friends, it's hard for me to stay connected to them because the thing that we had in common was drinking and now we don't. So that's a change where now I need to find friends that don't want to drink.
Right. Right.
So,
no, I feel that. Aligning your life goals with new friends can take time, but just remember, with the time comes the effort and then the reward of having a new group.
Yeah. Now, another problem why it's hard to make new friends in retirement is that if you don't have a lot of exposure to new people, and that is church, volunteering, the gym. What are some other places we talked about? Social circuits, social circles, clubs, going to people's house for dinner. If you're not doing any of that, you're not going to meet new people.
Right.
I mean, we went on vacation. We did the safari with 5 other couples. We knew one couple. We didn't know the other 4. They're like, we're not best friends with all of them.
We had a great time with all of them, though.
But we had a great time, and we stayed in touch. And now we have this trip in common. It was 12 days together that, had we not gone on that safari the way we did it, we never would have met these people.
Right.
And there's one couple that, live right near us down in Florida. So, you've got to put yourself out there in order to meet new people, because you never know who you're going to meet.
I agree. And you have to intentionally seek out those social opportunities. We have never done a planned group travel trip. That was the first one we had ever done. And we were nervous about it, I would say, because we knew one other couple, and I knew the woman the travel agent that was putting it together. But I mean, we didn't know anybody really well. And to spend 12 days, on a different continent with other people, in situations that are, mentally straining, socially straining, physically straining, we really put ourselves out there, and I'm really glad we did.
I am too. We easily could have said, we'll go on this safari, but we only want to go with people that we know.
Or we'll just take our kids, because we're a group in and of ourselves.
That's people that we know. So that's the point, I think, that I'm thinking about here is, and we've done some videos on solo travel and things like that. But I mean, if we traveled alone together and put ourselves in a group, I mean, I would do that again.
I would too.
I would really do that again.
I liked it a lot.
And as long as the travel agent knew, our likes and dislikes, and they kind of aligned well with the other group,
right?
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I think you've got to get yourself out of the house and into being exposed to new people. And it can be as easy as volunteering.
Yeah. And I think one of the last points that we're coming around to is hesitance leaves us to our comfort zones. So it's easy to get stuck in comfortable routines, making it hard to meet new people. But stepping outside of that comfort zone, while it feels risky, especially as we age, we'll reap the rewards. I think that's just kind of a nice way to say that.
Yeah, I think that familiar routines feel safer and they're less demanding. So you tend to not want to do what we just did.
Right.
You tend not to want to walk up to that other couple in a restaurant. A lot of times we're sitting in a restaurant and we'll talk to the couple next to us. You kind of have to feel it out a little bit. We've actually met people. And so why don't we go to the bar and have a drink after? Again, I'm not drinking, but we'll go out and have ice cream or something. Right. But you have to leave your comfort zone. There was a quote that I got the other day listening to this guy. The best things in life live on the outside of your comfort zone. How do you like that little
That's
nugget?
Good.
The best things in life live outside your comfort zone. So really having the courage to do that and to be vulnerable and get outside of your comfort zone. There's that word vulnerable again. You like that. The other thing is I talked about being overcommitted to or dependent on your spouse or your wife, being overcommitted or dependent upon your relationship with your kids. The same could apply being overcommitted to past relationships. I mean, if you've got some really good friends that you're holding on to, even though they've drifted, it prevents you from maybe opening the door for new people, because you always you'll call them with a problem. You'll speak to them with an issue. Clinging on to the old friendships that no longer serve your needs, that's not necessarily a good idea.
Well,
Does that make sense?
I think you have to balance, holding on to old valuable friendships that still, add, a lot to your life and to your history and to your trials and tribulations and joys and outcomes and all of that. I think there's a balance between that and making sure you have space for the new relationships in your life, because we all need new relationships in our lives.
Right.
So new relationships require that emotional space, which you just need to make sure there's room for with all your past ties.
So here's the example I want to give, because we talk about this on another video and on another forum. We talk about, I don't know if I'll get it right, the 5 levels of friends or 3 levels of friends. But there are the friends that are really close friends that you see once or twice a year and you've known them for 35 years, and that's enough. And then there's the friends that you might see once a month that take up some time. But there's this saying that my dad used to say, if you can count the number of really good friends on one hand, you're fine. But if those 5 friends are just the ones that you see twice a year, you're not allowing yourself to have the kind of friends you need to see on a more regular basis. I guess that's my point here. I'm thinking these 5, that's all I need. But then he just watches TV all day long.
Right.
So
Right.
I think you've got to keep those friendships alive, but don't be overcommitted thinking that's all you have and that's all
Right.
you need. To your point, new relationships, they require some emotional space. And sometimes that's occupied by past ties.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go through the step-by-step guide. First, recognize that everyone struggles with making new friends in retirement. So if you meet someone who's also in retirement, just know that they're struggling too.
Yeah, we covered a lot of that in
Yeah.
this video, that
Mhm.
we all struggle with this. You're not alone when you think, well, look, I watched TV for 3 hours today. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. It's hard. It takes effort. So, but there's millions of other people at home in the same boat, watching TV, struggling, wishing they could meet somebody new. So to your point, get up the courage, because people really can use the friendship.
And that leads to the second point. Start small. Join one group or take one new class or meet one new person, or maybe set a goal for yourself. I'm going to meet 4 new people a month. Maybe that's a lot, 1 a week. I'm going to meet 2 new people a month. Every other week, I'm going to make sure I meet someone new. So start small and then see where it goes from there.
Great. The third thing to do to boost connectivity with new friends is actually connect with one old friend this week. Now, with Facebook and LinkedIn and I don't know what other Instagram,
Snap,
No, I don't do Snap.
TikTok.
I don't do that either. So, but those 3, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you can find old friends.
Right.
And you can reach out to them, send them a message. Hey, I saw this picture of you. This morning, I saw my friend Bob playing golf, by the way, right down here with his 3 sons. And I've been trying to get him to play golf with me for years. But I sent him a note. Hey, saw you're playing golf with your friends. We have to play golf before we go to Florida. So, that's taken a little bit of effort, but connect with one new friend this week.
Yeah.
And you've done that.
I have. The fourth thing is attend a community event where you can meet new people. Just put yourself out there.
A barn raising.
Well, I don't know that they do that anymore.
They don't do that
I
anymore?
don't think so.
But I think making the effort to join a community event, attend it. Again, I go back to volunteering, where you can really meet some nice, like-minded people who want to help others. That's really important. And the fifth thing is really using social media or technology.
Stay connected.
Go through your phone. Just go through your phone and look for a bunch of names and call someone and tell them how much they mean to you. Leave them a message. They'll call you back.
Making friends in retirement may feel like a challenge, but it's vital to your happiness and your health. Taking intentional steps to build new connections can lead to a richer, more fulfilling retirement.
So put some effort in this. We gave you 20 reasons why it's hard to make friends, and we gave you some steps on how to make friends. So take one step towards building new friendships today. If you like this video, this next one, don't get isolated, how to maintain relationships in retirement. It's a really good video, and we have a worksheet in there that works you through this process, 3 steps for healthier relationships. So watch this one next.